The message came on a Tuesday morning, and it changed everything. Admiral John Carter stood on the bridge of the starship Resolute and read the words 3 times. His face showed nothing, but his mind was racing. After 200 years of silence, the Galactic Council had finally noticed humanity. The year was 2347. Earth had sent its children to the stars long ago, and those children had built new homes on 17 different worlds across 3 star systems. Humanity was young compared to the ancient species that ruled the galaxy. They were like a new kid at a school where everyone else had been studying for thousands of years. But this new kid had learned fast. Very fast. John turned to his second-in-command, a woman named Carol Hayes. She was looking at him, with questions in her eyes. "The Galactic Council wants to meet us," John said. "They are calling it peace talks." Carol raised an eyebrow. "Peace talks? We are not at war with anyone." "That is exactly what I was thinking." The Galactic Council was a group of 12 species that had ruled most of the known galaxy for over 10,000 years. They made the rules. They decided who could trade with whom. They chose which species could expand, and which ones had to stay where they were. Humanity had never asked for their permission to do anything. They had simply gone out into space, found empty worlds, and made them home. They had built ships, created weapons, and traded with whoever wanted to trade. This had made some of the older species very unhappy. The Vorathi Dominion had sent 2 fleets to test human borders in the past 50 years. Both fleets had been destroyed. The Krell Syndicate had tried to capture a human colony and turn its people into slaves. The humans had fought back so hard that the Krell had lost an entire battle group and had never tried again. Now the council wanted to talk. John did not trust it, but he also knew they could not refuse. 3 days later, he met with Ambassador Lisa Monroe on Earth. She had been chosen to lead the human delegation, and John could see why. Lisa was calm in a way that made other people nervous. She never raised her voice. She never lost her temper. She had spent 20 years talking to hostile aliens and had always found a way to get what humanity needed. They sat in a conference room overlooking the Pacific Ocean. The water sparkled under the afternoon sun, and somewhere below, people were living their lives without knowing that the future of their species might be decided in the next few weeks. "What do you think they want?" John asked. Lisa looked at the datapad that held the council's message. "They want to put us in our place. The council has never invited a species younger than 10,000 years to sit at their table. They see us as children, dangerous children who need to be controlled. And if we refuse to be controlled?" Lisa smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Then they will try to make us. They have done it before, to other species. The ones who said yes became servants. The ones who said no became examples." John felt a cold anger building in his chest. "We are not going to be either of those things." "No," Lisa agreed. "We are not." The delegation left Earth 2 weeks later. 7 ships made the journey to Carvos Prime, the neutral station where the council held all major meetings. It was not a show of force. 7 ships was simply standard procedure. Humanity had learned very early that the galaxy was not a safe place for those who traveled alone and unarmed. The journey took 9 days. During that time, Lisa prepared her team. She made them study everything humanity knew about the council species. She made them practice sitting in silence for hours, because some species saw quick responses as a sign of weakness. She made them learn the proper ways to address each council member, even though she knew the council would probably not show them the same respect. Kevin Grant was her assistant. He was young, only 28, but he had a mind, like a computer, and never forgot anything. He would stand beside her during the talks and make sure she had every piece of information she might need. "Are you nervous?" he asked her on the last night before they arrived. Lisa thought about the question. "No, I am angry. But I will not let them see it." Kevin nodded. He had learned a lot from watching her over the past 2 years. He knew that Lisa Monroe was the most dangerous kind of diplomat. She looked soft, but underneath, She was made of steel. Carvos Prime appeared on their screens the next morning. It was the size of a small moon, a massive station built long ago by a species that no longer existed. Its halls had seen the rise and fall of empires. Its walls had heard the screams of species being sentenced to extinction and the celebrations of new alliances being formed. Now it would hear what humanity had to say. The human ships docked without incident. A group of aliens met them at the airlock. They were Selenari, tall and thin, with skin that looked like polished silver. They did not smile, did not offer any greeting. They simply gestured for the humans to follow. Lisa walked with her head high and her shoulders back. Her team followed in perfect formation behind her. They had practiced this too. First impressions mattered, and she wanted the council to see that humanity was not afraid. They were led through long corridors filled with strange art and stranger smells. Other species watched them pass. Some looked curious. Some looked hostile. A group of Vorathi soldiers stared at them with open hatred, their hands resting on their weapons. Lisa met their eyes and kept walking. She did not speed up. She did not slow down. She simply walked past them, as if they were furniture. The Selenari guides brought them to their quarters. The rooms were small and plain, clearly meant to make them feel unimportant. "The council will summon you when they are ready," one of the Selenari said. "Do not leave these rooms unless you are called." Lisa nodded politely. "Of course. We will wait." The Selenari left, and John turned to Lisa with fire in his eyes. "They are treating us like prisoners. They are treating us like every other young species they have ever met," Lisa replied. "They expect us to complain. They expect us to demand better treatment. We will do neither. We will wait, and we will watch, and we will learn everything we can about them while they think they are teaching us our place." John took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. Lisa was right. This was a game, and they needed to play it smart. 6 days passed. 6 days of waiting in small rooms while the council did whatever the council did. Lisa used every minute of that time. She sent Kevin out to observe the other species, to listen to conversations, to map the station, and identify who held real power. What they learned was interesting. The council was not as united as it appeared. Several species resented the Selenari's leadership. The Vorathi were hungry for war and saw humanity as easy prey. The Krell were still afraid from their last encounter with human ships, and everyone, it seemed, was talking about the humans who dared to expand without permission. On the 7th day, the summons finally came. Lisa gathered her team and led them toward the great council chamber. Her heart was steady. Her mind was clear. She did not know exactly what would happen in that room, but she knew one thing for certain. Humanity had not come all this way to kneel. The council chamber was built to make visitors feel small. Lisa Monroe understood this the moment she walked through the doors. The room was enormous. The ceiling rose so high that it disappeared into darkness. Strange lights floated in the air, casting shadows that moved in ways that made no sense. The walls were covered with images of species that had stood here before, their faces frozen in expressions of fear or submission. But it was the seating arrangement that told Lisa everything she needed to know. The 12 council members sat on elevated platforms arranged in a half-circle. Their seats were high, carved from materials that sparkled and shone. They looked down at the center of the room like gods looking at insects. And in that center, where the human delegation was directed to stand, the floor was lower, much lower. Anyone standing there would have to look up at the council, straining their necks like children trying to see adults at a dinner table. Lisa felt Kevin tense beside her. She put a hand on his arm, just for a moment. "Stay calm," that touch said. "This is what we expected." She led her team to the lowered area and stood there without complaint. She arranged her face into a pleasant, neutral expression. She waited. The council members watched her in silence. Minutes passed. Lisa did not move, did not shift her weight, did not look away. She had practiced this. She could stand still for hours if needed. Finally, The tallest of the council members spoke. He was Selinari, his silver skin gleaming under the strange lights. His name was Vex, and he had ruled the council for over 800 years. "You are humanity," he said. His voice was flat, translated through the small device in Lisa's ear. "You have caused problems." Lisa waited for more. There was always more. "You have expanded into territory that was not given to you," Vex continued. "You have attacked ships belonging to member species. You have built weapons that violate our regulations. You have traded with species that are under sanction." He paused, as if waiting for her to apologize. She did not. "You are here to answer for these violations," Vex said, "and to accept the terms of your integration into galactic society." Lisa finally spoke. Her voice was calm and clear. "We were told this was a peace negotiation, not a trial." "It is both." A murmur passed through the chamber. Other species had been brought here before. They had stood where Lisa was standing. They had always been grateful just to be noticed, always eager to please. This human did not look grateful. She did not look eager. She looked like she was waiting for something, and it made several council members uncomfortable. Vex continued, ignoring her comment. "The terms are simple. You will give control of 7 of your 17 colonies to the species you have wronged. You will reduce your military by 80%. You will allow council observers to monitor all your technology development. In exchange, you will receive protection under galactic law and the right to trade with member species." Lisa listened carefully. She made sure she understood every word. Then, she turned to Kevin and held out her hand. He gave her a datapad. She looked at the datapad for exactly 4 seconds. She did not actually need it. She already knew what her answer would be. But she wanted them to think she was considering their offer. Then she looked back at High Counselor Vex. No. The word was simple. 1 syllable, 2 letters. But it hit the chamber like a bomb. Several council members sat forward in their seats. The Vorathi representative made a sound that might have been a laugh or a growl. The Krell ambassador looked away, as if afraid to watch what would happen next. Vex's expression did not change, but something in his eyes flickered. It might have been surprise. It might have been anger. It was hard to tell. With the Selinari. "You do not understand," he said slowly. "These are not suggestions. These are the terms of your continued existence." Lisa placed the datapad on the small podium in front of her. When she spoke, her voice carried across the vast room without any need for amplification. "We understand perfectly. We came here in good faith, hoping to find partners, hoping to build relationships with species who have been traveling the stars far longer than we have. We hope to learn from you and perhaps teach you some things as well." She paused, looking at each council member in turn. "Instead, you have offered us slavery with a nice name. You want us to give up half our worlds. You want us to destroy our own defenses. You want to watch everything we do and control everything we build. This is not peace. This is not negotiation. This is an ultimatum. The thing that, ad opdesign. This is an ultimatum." High Counselor Vex leaned forward. "Every species that has joined the council has accepted similar terms. It is how order is maintained. It is how peace is preserved." "Then your order is built on submission," Lisa replied. "And your peace is the peace of the conquered. We will have no part of it." She stepped back from the podium. Her team moved with her, forming a neat line. "We came here seeking friendship. You offered us chains. This discussion is over." And with that, she turned and walked toward the door. The chamber erupted. Council members shouted in languages their translators struggled to process. Guards moved to block the exit, but they hesitated. No one had ever walked out on the council before. No one had even tried. The Vorathi representative stood, his massive form casting a shadow across the room. "You cannot leave. No one leaves until the council dismisses them." Lisa stopped but did not turn around. "We are not your subjects. We do not need your permission to leave. She resumed walking. Her team followed without hesitation. The guards looked at each other, unsure what to do. They had been trained to deal with angry species, with fearful species, with species that begged for mercy. They had no training for this. Lisa and her team walked through the doors and down the long corridor. Behind them, they could hear the chaos still spreading through the chamber. Voices shouted. Objects crashed against floors. Kevin walked beside her, his face pale but his steps steady. Lisa allowed herself a small smile. That went exactly as I expected. The Council has been in power for 10,000 years because no one has ever told them no. They do not know how to handle it. Quote, they will learn quickly. Yes, they will. They reached their quarters and began packing immediately. There was no reason to stay. The negotiation was over, and Lisa knew what would come next. Admiral John Carter was waiting at the airlock when they arrived. He had watched the entire meeting through a hidden camera, and his face was grim. The Vorathi fleet is mobilizing, he said. Our sensors detected them moving toward battle positions 10 minutes ago. Lisa nodded. Then we leave now. How fast can we reach human space? 9 days. Maybe 8 if we push the engines. Push them. The 7 human ships undocked from Carvos Prime and jumped to faster-than-light speed within the hour. As the stars streaked past the windows, Lisa stood on the bridge of the Resolute and thought about what she had done. She had just rejected the most powerful political body in the galaxy. She had walked out on species that had ruled the stars for longer than humanity had existed. She had, quite possibly, started a war that could destroy everything her people had built. But she had also done something else. She had shown the galaxy that humanity was not afraid, that they would not bow, that they would rather fight and lose than submit and survive. John joined her at the window. Do you think they will come after us? I know they will, Lisa said. The Council cannot let this stand. If we get away with refusing them, other species might try the same thing. They have to make an example of us. Then we had better be ready. Lisa watched the stars and thought of Earth. She thought of the 17 colonies filled with millions of people who were counting on her to keep them safe. She thought of children being born right now who would grow up in a galaxy that might soon be at war. She took a deep breath. We will be ready. Far behind them, the Galactic Council was still in chaos. High Counselor Vex stood alone in the empty chamber, staring at the door through which the humans had walked away. In 800 years, no one had ever spoken to him that way. No one had ever refused his terms. No one had ever turned their back and simply left. These humans were either very brave or very foolish. He would make sure the galaxy learned which one it was. The declaration came 2 weeks after the human delegation returned to Earth. Every communication channel in human space received the message at the same time. The Galactic Council had spoken. Humanity was now classified as a rogue species. They were forbidden from trading with any council member. They could not enter council space. Any member species was free to take military action against them. In simple terms, the galaxy had declared open season on humanity. Lisa Monroe read the declaration in her office on Earth. She had expected it, but seeing the words still hurt. They had gone to Carvos Prime, hoping for peace. Now, they had war. The Vorathi are already moving, said General Marcus Webb. He was the head of Human Defense Forces, a man who had spent 40 years preparing for exactly this kind of situation. Our scouts report a fleet of 400 warships heading toward the outer colonies. Lisa looked up from the declaration. The largest fleet they have ever assembled. They want to make a statement. Lisa stood and walked to the window. Outside, the city of New Geneva spread out beneath a gray sky. People were going about their daily lives, buying food, going to work, raising children. Most of them did not know yet what was coming. What do we have in that sector? Marcus pulled up a holographic map. Commander Amy Sullivan is stationed at New Houston with 47 ships, She is our first line of defense. 47 against 400. Lisa did the math in her head. It was not good math. Commander Sullivan is one of our best, Marcus said. If anyone can buy us time, it is her. Lisa nodded slowly. Send word to all colonies. Begin evacuation procedures for non-essential personnel. Move them to the inner systems. Get time. And the defense fleet? Tell them to prepare for the fight of their lives. Far away, in the dark space near the New Houston colony, Commander Amy Sullivan received her orders. She was 41 years old, with short brown hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had joined the military at 18 and had been fighting ever since. First against pirates, then against the Krell Raiders, now against the largest alien fleet ever assembled. She gathered her officers in the briefing room of her flagship, the carrier, Defiance. Their faces were grim but determined. They had all known this day might come. The Vorathi will be here in 16 hours, Amy said. They have 400 ships. We have 47. By any normal calculation, we should retreat and wait for reinforcements. She looked at each officer in turn. We are not going to do that. Captain Tom Nelson, her second in command, leaned forward. What are we going to do? We are going to fight. And we are going to win. The room was silent. Everyone knew the odds. Everyone knew what Amy was asking them to do. New Houston has 3 million people, Amy continued. Families. Children. They cannot be evacuated in 16 hours. If we retreat, the Vorathi will reach the colony. They will burn it to ash as a message to the rest of humanity. She placed her hands flat on the table. I will not let that happen. I will not let a single Vorathi ship reach that planet. If we have to die to stop them, then we die. But we take as many of them with us as we can. One by one, her officers nodded. There was no argument. No complaint. They had all joined the military, knowing they might one day be asked to make this kind of sacrifice. Then let us get to work, Amy said. We have 16 hours to prepare the biggest surprise the Vorathi have ever seen. The hours passed quickly. Human ships moved into position, hiding behind asteroids and in the shadows of small moons. Amy had studied Vorathi tactics for years. She knew how they fought. She knew what they expected. And she knew they were not expecting what she had planned. When the Vorathi fleet finally appeared on sensors, it was everything the reports had promised. 400 warships, ranging from small attack craft to massive destroyers. They moved in a standard formation, confident and slow. They expected no real resistance. The Vorathi commander, a warrior named Krath, opened a communication channel. His face appeared on the screens of every human ship. He was large even for his species, with dark scales and eyes that burned with hate. Human vessels, he said. You are outnumbered and outmatched. Surrender now, and we will grant you a quick death. Resist, and you will suffer. Amy smiled at the screen. Commander Krath. Thank you for the offer, but I have a counter-proposal. She leaned forward, and her smile disappeared. You have entered human space without authorization. You have 1 hour to turn around and go home. This is your only warning, Krath laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. 1 hour? You have 47 ships against my 400. You are in no position to make demands. 1 hour, Amy repeated. She cut the communication. For 59 minutes, nothing happened. The Vorathi fleet continued its approach. Krath sent several more messages, each more insulting than the last. Amy ignored them all. When the hour ended, Krath gave the order to attack. That was when everything changed. The first wave of Vorathi ships charged forward, expecting easy targets. Instead, they flew straight into a minefield. Hundreds of small devices, hidden in the debris of an old asteroid, exploded at once. 30 ships were destroyed in the first 10 seconds. Before the Vorathi could react, human ships appeared from their hiding places. They did not fight like any enemy the Vorathi had faced before. They moved in patterns that seemed random, but were actually carefully choreographed. They dodged incoming fire with movements that should have been impossible. Human weapons fired projectiles that ignored Vorathi shields. The Vorathi had built their defenses to stop energy weapons, the standard armament of every spacefaring species. But humans had never abandoned ballistic weapons. They had improved them, perfected them. A piece of metal moving at a fraction of the speed of light did not care about energy shields. The battle lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of chaos and fire and death. The Vorathi had numbers, but the humans had something else. They had rage. They had desperation. They had the knowledge that 3 million innocent people were depending on them. Commander Sullivan led from the front. When her flagship took damage, she kept fighting. When 2 of her engines failed, she ordered her crew to route power to weapons and kept firing. When a Vorathi destroyer tried to break through the line and head for the planet, she rammed it with her own ship. The Defiance did not survive the collision. Amy Sullivan did. Barely. Her escape pod was picked up by the carrier Vigilant 3 hours after the battle ended. When the final count came in, the galaxy held its breath. 312 Vorathi ships had been destroyed. The rest had retreated, broken, and beaten. Humanity had lost 19 vessels, 47 against 400. And humanity had won. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species heard the story. Every council member received the reports. The Vorathi, one of the most feared military powers in known space, had been crushed by a species that had been traveling the stars for only 200 years. High Counselor Vex read the reports in silence. His silver hands did not shake. His face did not change. But inside, something cold was growing in his chest. This was not possible. The humans should have been destroyed. They should have surrendered. They should have learned their place. Instead, they had proven that they were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. On Earth, crowds gathered in the streets to celebrate. The names of the fallen were read aloud, and people wept, but they also cheered. They cheered because their sons and daughters had faced impossible odds and won. In a hospital bed on the Vigilant, Commander Amy Sullivan woke to find Lisa Monroe sitting beside her. "You did it," Lisa said softly. "You saved New Houston." Amy's voice was weak, but her eyes were clear. "We did what had to be done. How many did we lose?" 19 ships, 2,412 people. Amy closed her eyes. Those numbers would stay with her forever. Every name, every face, every person who had died following her orders. "They died heroes," Lisa said. "The whole galaxy knows what they did." "Good." Amy opened her eyes again. "Make sure the galaxy remembers. Make sure they know that we will not be easy prey. Make sure they understand that every human life has a price, and the price is very, very high." Lisa nodded. "The Vorathi have already sent a message to the Council. They are demanding more ships, more resources. They want revenge. Let them come." Amy's voice was stronger now, filled with the same fire that had carried her through the battle. "Let them all come. We will be waiting." The galaxy had made a terrible mistake. They had looked at humanity and seen prey. They had seen a young species that could be bullied and conquered. They were learning the truth now. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was a predator. And it had just woken up. The months after the Battle of New Houston changed everything. Word of the human victory spread to every corner of the galaxy. In trading posts and military academies, in council chambers and private homes, beings of every species talked about what had happened. 47 ships against 400. A young species destroying one of the most powerful fleets in existence. Some called it luck. Some called it trickery. But everyone agreed on one thing. Humanity was not what they had seemed. The Galactic Council did not take the news well. High Counselor Vex called an emergency meeting. The 12 species gathered in the Great Chamber on Carvos Prime, and for the first time in centuries, there was genuine fear in the air. This was a setback, Vex said, his silver face showing no emotion. Nothing more. The Vorathi underestimated their enemy. It will not happen again. No send. Vex, I mender. Vex, enter, I. No send. No send. No send. No send. Vex, ender, I. The Vorathi representative growled from his platform. My people demand revenge. We want resources. We want ships from every council member. We will crush these humans, like the insects they are. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. The Krell ambassador, a being made of what looked like blue crystal, spoke carefully. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The humans have proven themselves more capable than we anticipated. Maybe a diplomatic solution would be less costly. Diplomatic solution? The Vorathi representative stood, his massive form trembling with rage. They killed over 50,000 of our warriors. There will be no diplomacy. There will be only fire and death. The argument continued for hours. The council was divided in a way it had not been for thousands of years. Some wanted total war. Some wanted negotiation. Some simply wanted to pretend the whole thing had never happened. In the end, Vex made the decision. We will continue the pressure on human space, but we will be smarter about it. We will cut off their trade routes. We will starve them. We will make them so desperate that they come crawling back to this chamber, begging for the terms we offered before. It was a good plan. It might even have worked if the humans had been anything like the species the council was used to dealing with, but they were not. The Krell Syndicate was the first to try the new approach. They assembled a fleet of 60 ships and positioned them along the main trade route between human space and the independent systems. Any ship trying to pass would be stopped, searched, and turned back. The blockade lasted 3 days. On the 4th day, a convoy of human merchant ships appeared. They were large, slow vessels, the kind that usually carried food and supplies between colonies. The Krell commander ordered them to stop. The merchants stopped. Then they opened their cargo holds. Inside each merchant ship were 20 military-grade fighters. They launched like angry bees from a hive, swarming around the Krell fleet before anyone could react. The cargo ships themselves turned out to be armed with weapons that should not have existed on civilian craft. The battle was over in 2 hours. 11 Krell warships were captured intact. The rest were destroyed or fled. The trade route was open again. The galaxy learned another lesson. Human merchants were not helpless victims waiting to be robbed. They were wolves, dressed as sheep, on Earth. President Daniel Shaw addressed the United Human Government in an emergency session. The assembly hall was packed with representatives from all 17 colonies. Every face showed the strain of the past months. Every person knew that their species was fighting for its survival. We did not ask for this conflict, Shaw said. His voice was steady, but there was steel underneath it. We went to Carvos Prime, hoping to join a community of species. We wanted to learn from them. We wanted to trade with them. We wanted to be their friends. He paused, looking across the gathered representatives. Instead, they tried to make us slaves. They sent fleets to destroy our colonies. They blocked our trade routes. They declared us enemies of civilization. Shaw straightened, and his voice grew stronger. Our ancestors survived ice ages. They survived plagues that killed half the population. They survived world wars and nearly destroyed themselves with nuclear weapons. They survived all of that. And they kept going. They kept fighting. They kept dreaming of a future among the stars. He pointed toward the ceiling, toward the stars beyond. We are the children of those survivors. We carry their strength in our blood. We carry their determination in our hearts. And we will not let everything they built be destroyed by species who see us as nothing more than prey. The assembly voted unanimously to continue the war. What the council did not know was that humanity was not just fighting back. They were building something. Something that would change everything. In the outer reaches of the solar system, hidden in the shadow of Neptune, a construction project had been underway for almost a decade. It had started as a theoretical exercise, a way for engineers to test what was possible. Now, it was becoming very real. The project was called Vanguard, and it was a ship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral John Carter visited the construction site 3 months after the Battle of New Houston. What he saw took his breath away. The ship was 3 kilometers long. Its hull was made of a new material that absorbed sensor scans, making it nearly invisible. Its engines could accelerate it faster than any ship its size had a right to move, and its weapons were things out of nightmares. Dr. Susan Park was the chief engineer. She walked beside John as they toured the massive structure. "The main gun can punch through anything," she said. "We tested it on asteroid. The asteroid does not exist anymore." John stared at the weapon systems. "How soon can it be ready?" "All I would have to see. 6 months. Maybe less. We are working around the clock. Over. 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 Make it faster." Susan nodded. She understood. Everyone understood. This ship might be the only thing standing between humanity and extinction. While the Vanguard was being built, the war continued. Small battles broke out along the borders of human space. Sometimes humanity won. Sometimes they lost. Every victory cost lives. Every defeat cost more. But something else was happening too. Inside the Galactic Council, cracks were beginning to show. The Veloxy Consortium, a group of trading species, sent a secret message to human space. They were tired of the war. They wanted to resume trade. They did not care what the Council said. The Selenari received reports from their spies that made High Counselor Vex pace his chambers at night. Human technology was advancing at an impossible rate. Weapons that had been theoretical years ago were now standard issue. Ships that should have taken decades to build were being completed in months. And there were rumors, whispers of something being built near the human home star. Something massive. Something that no one could identify. Vex summoned his military advisors. "What are they building?" he demanded. The advisors exchanged nervous glances. "We do not know, High Counselor. Our probes cannot get close enough to see. The humans have set up defense networks that destroy anything that approaches." "Then guess." The senior advisor stepped forward. He was old even by Selenari standards, and he had seen many wars. "Based on the energy readings we have detected, based on the resources they are gathering, based on everything we know about human psychology." He paused. "They are building a weapon, a big one. Something designed to end wars, rather than fight them." Vex felt cold. "Can we stop them?" We would need to attack their home system directly. That would require the largest fleet in galactic history. Then assemble it." The advisor hesitated. "High Counselor, if we fail, we will not fail. We cannot fail. These humans have defied the Council. They have embarrassed us in front of the entire galaxy. They have made other species think that resistance is possible." Vex's voice was hard. "They must be destroyed. Completely. We will burn their homeworld to ash and scatter the survivors among the stars as slaves. The galaxy will watch, and the galaxy will remember what happens to those who defy us. We want to protein." End quote. The order went out to every council member species. "Assemble your ships. Prepare for the final battle." Humanity was about to face the full might of the Galactic Council. On Earth, Lisa Monroe stood on her balcony and watched the sun set over New Geneva. She had just received intelligence reports about the fleet being assembled. Over 2,000 ships from 12 species, the largest military force in 3,000 years. Her aide, Kevin Grant, joined her. "The Vanguard will be ready," he said. "Admiral Carter confirmed it this morning." Lisa nodded slowly. One ship against 2,000. Even for us. Those are difficult odds. Kevin smiled. It was the same cold smile he had learned from her over the years. The Vorathi thought 47 against 400 were good odds. They learned differently. Yes, they did. Lisa turned away from the sunset. Contact Admiral Carter. Tell him to prepare everything we have. When that council fleet arrives, I want them to see what humanity is really capable of. And if it is not enough, Lisa looked at him with eyes that held no fear. Then we go down fighting. We show the galaxy that we would rather die free than live as slaves. We become a legend that will inspire species for thousands of years to come. She smiled, and there was fire in it. But I do not think it will come to that. I think the Council has made the same mistake everyone makes. When they look at us, they see a young species. They see a small species. They see prey. She walked back inside, ready to prepare for the battle that would decide everything. They forget that we are the species that tamed fire, that invented nuclear weapons, and then chose not to destroy ourselves, that reached the stars through pure, stubborn determination. They forget what we really are. Kevin followed her. And what are we? Lisa did not turn around. We are survivors, and we are about to prove it one more time. Fleet Admiral Greg Palmer stood in the command center of the orbital platform called Sentinel. He was 63 years old, with gray hair and a face that looked like it was carved from stone. He had spent 40 years in the military and had never lost a battle. He did not intend to start today. The tactical display before him showed the approaching enemy. Over 2,000 ships from 12 species, stretching across space like a plague of metal and fire. It was the largest military force assembled in 3,000 years. They had come to destroy Earth, to burn humanity's homeworld to ash and scatter the survivors as a warning to the galaxy. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Stone, his tactical officer, reported the numbers in a calm voice. She was young, only 32, but she had ice in her veins. 2,347 confirmed contacts, Admiral. They will be in weapons range in 14 hours. Greg nodded slowly. He had known the numbers before they arrived. He had been preparing for this moment for months. Open a channel, he said. All frequencies. No encryption. I want everyone in the galaxy to hear this. The communication officer worked quickly. Channel open, sir. Greg straightened his uniform and spoke in a voice that carried absolute certainty. This is Fleet Admiral Palmer, of the United Human Defense Force. You are approaching Earth with hostile intent. I am required by law to offer you one final opportunity to withdraw. If you continue your approach, you will be destroyed. The response came from a Vorathi commander. His face appeared on the screen, twisted with contempt. You have 47 ships in orbit. We have 2,000. Your threats are empty words from a dying species. Greg smiled. It was not a friendly smile. 47 ships in orbit, yes. That is our patrol fleet. You seem to think that is all we have. He paused. Allow me to correct that mistake. He nodded to Rachel. Throughout the solar system, humanity revealed what it had been hiding. Platforms that had floated dead in the asteroid belt powered up their engines. Ships that had been dormant for months in the rings of Saturn came to life. Weapons systems hidden in the debris fields around Jupiter activated their targeting systems. On the Council fleet's sensors, new contacts began appearing. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. The communications officer on the lead Vorathi ship reported to his commander with a voice that shook. Sir, we are detecting 4,000 human ships. No. More. They are still appearing. Sir, there are ships everywhere. The fleet commander stared at his display. The humans had been hidden, waiting. They had let the galaxy think they were weak, and all along they had been building an army. But even that was not the worst part. The worst part came from behind Neptune. The vanguard emerged from the shadow of the ice giant like a monster from an ancient legend. 3 kilometers of death, moving with a grace that should have been impossible. Its hull absorbed sensor scans, making it look like a hole in space. Its weapons ports glowed with energy that made every sensor officer in the Council fleet go pale. Admiral Palmer's voice came through the communication channel again. "You came here to destroy us. You came because you thought we were weak and alone. You were wrong." He leaned forward, and his eyes burned with something that species across the galaxy would remember for thousands of years. "We are not weak. We have never been weak. We simply did not want to fight. We wanted to be your friends. We wanted to learn from you, and trade with you, and build a future together. You refused. You called us children. You called us insects. You tried to make us kneel." He shook his head slowly. "Humanity does not kneel." The Vanguard moved to the center of the human formation. Its main weapon, the one that Dr. Susan Park had tested on an asteroid, locked onto the largest ship in the Council fleet. "You have two choices," Palmer continued. "Surrender unconditionally, or be destroyed. There will be no negotiation. There will be no terms. You came here to make an example of us. Congratulations, you succeeded, just not in the way you expected." Silence filled the communication channels. The Council fleet had stopped advancing. 2,000 ships hung in space, suddenly aware that they had walked into a trap from which there might be no escape. On the bridge of the lead Vorathi destroyer, the commander turned to his communications officer. "Contact the High Counselor. Now." Far away on Carvos Prime, High Counselor Vex watched the scene unfold on his display. His silver hands trembled. His breathing was shallow. 800 years he had ruled. 800 years of bending species to his will, of crushing resistance before it could grow, of maintaining order through fear and overwhelming force. Now he watched 4,000 human ships surrounding his fleet. He watched the impossible weapon, called Vanguard, preparing to fire. He watched everything he had built, threatening to collapse. His aide approached carefully. "High Counselor, the fleet commander is requesting instructions." Vex did not respond immediately. He was thinking of all the species that had stood where humanity now stood. The ones who had surrendered, the ones who had been destroyed, the ones who had become servants of the Council and forgotten they had ever been free. He had thought humans would be the same. Young, frightened, eager to be accepted. He had been wrong. "Tell them to surrender," Vex said finally. His voice was hollow. "High Counselor, tell them to surrender. Immediately. Unconditionally. Before those humans destroy everything we sent." The order went out. Across the Council fleet, weapons powered down. Ships stopped their engines. Surrender codes were transmitted on every frequency. Admiral Palmer received the codes and felt no joy. He felt only exhaustion and a deep sadness for all the lives that had been lost to bring them to this moment. "All ships, hold fire," he ordered. "Begin prisoner operations. Treat them with respect. We are not them. We do not torture our enemies. We do not humiliate our prisoners." Rachel looked at him with surprise. "Sir?" These soldiers were following orders. Most of them probably did not even want to be here. They have families, children, dreams that have nothing to do with war. Palmer sat back in his chair. "We won. We do not need to be cruel about it." The capture of the Council fleet took 3 days, over 2,000 ships, nearly 500,000 prisoners from 12 species. It was the largest military surrender in galactic history. And then came the negotiations. Lisa Monroe returned to Carvos Prime. But this time she did not walk to a lowered section of the floor. This time, she walked to a seat that was equal to all the others. The Council had offered it as a gesture of goodwill. Everyone knew it was a gesture of fear. High Counselor Vex sat across from her. He looked older than he had a year ago. The silver of his skin seemed duller somehow. "You have won," he said simply. "What do you want?" Lisa studied him for a long moment before answering. "We want what we have always wanted. To be treated as equals. To trade freely with any species that wishes to trade with us. To be left alone when we wish to be left alone. To be welcomed when we wish to be welcomed. She leaned forward. We do not want revenge. We do not want tribute. We do not want to rule anyone. We simply want to exist in peace. Vex blinked. That is all? That is all. It is what we asked for at the beginning, before you offered us slavery. It is what we are asking for now, after everything that has happened. You do not want more? Lisa smiled. And for the first time, there was warmth in it. What would more give us? Territory we do not need? Wealth we cannot use? Power over species that would hate us forever? She shook her head. We have enough. We have our worlds. We have our people. We have our freedom. That is all we ever wanted. The treaty was signed 3 weeks later. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Not as servants, not as junior partners, as equals. 1 year after that, Lisa Monroe became the first human to sit on the council itself. She took her seat among beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia, and she did so as their equal. The galaxy had learned a lesson that would be taught for thousands of years. A lesson about a species that came to the stars, seeking friendship, and found only enemies. A species that tried to make peace and was forced to make war. A species that wanted nothing more than to be left alone, and ended up changing everything. Humanity had not wanted to fight. They had not wanted to conquer or dominate or rule. They had simply wanted to exist. But when the galaxy tried to destroy them, they had proven something important. They had proven that they could not be destroyed, that they would not be enslaved, that they would rather burn the entire galaxy to ash than kneel to anyone. In the end, the Council had given them peace. Not because the Council was kind, not because the Council was generous, but because the Council had finally understood what humanity really was. They were survivors. They were fighters. They were the children of a world that had tried to kill them 1,000 times and failed. And they were just getting started. In her office on Carvos Prime, Lisa Monroe looked out at the stars and thought about everything that had happened. The wars, the battles, the lives lost, and the victories won. Kevin Grant joined her, carrying 2 glasses of wine from Earth. To peace, he said, offering her a glass. Lisa took it and raised it toward the stars. To peace, she agreed, and to making sure we never have to fight for it again. She drank, and the stars seemed to sparkle just a little brighter. Somewhere out there, 17 worlds full of humans were building, growing, dreaming. They had proven they could survive anything the galaxy threw at them. Now they would prove they could thrive. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake when it tried to destroy humanity. But in a strange way, Lisa was almost grateful. The war had shown her people what they were capable of. It had united them in ways nothing else could have. And it had taught the galaxy a lesson that would never be forgotten. Do not mistake kindness for weakness. Do not mistake patience for fear. And never, ever, mistake a desire for peace as an inability to wage war. Humanity had come to the stars as friends. They had proven they could be the most terrifying enemies the galaxy had ever seen. And now, finally, they could be what they had always wanted to be. Partners, equals, members of a community that stretched across the stars. The war was over. The future was just beginning.